Hi, I'm Barry Sahajian. This video is about minor seventh chords, playing them on bass, the shapes to use, the technique, the theory, and best of all, how to play them creatively to make you a better bass player. So let's get started. I play these minor seventh chords in three shapes basically. Two of the shapes are in position, and the third one is sort of a shifting type position. I want to show you each one of them one at a time and then show you lines that you can play with these shapes. Now the reason why you would want to learn the minor seventh chord in three shapes is because sometimes a line will extend in one, going down to the lower part of the neck or the upper part of the neck. And with each position, if you stay in position, you can't really move everywhere you'd like to go, so the other position might work. So let's start with position one. And that would be the most popular and the one I use most of the time, I think. I'm not too sure because I shift around all over the place. But anyway, that would be from in the fifth position. So you start on the A, the root, on the fifth fret of the E string. And then the minor third, which is the eighth fret of the E string. And then the fifth, which would be the seventh fret of the A string. And then the flat seven, which would be the fifth fret of the D string. A, C, E, G for an A minor seventh chord. So since a seventh chord has 4 notes, you can play a quarter note for each of the degrees of the scale, and you get a full measure. If you ever go into walking lines, you'll see how valuable this is to be able to play an arpeggio with 4 notes, and it works perfectly in 4/4. So the second thing you want to do is to start from the octave and descend. Same notes, except for the octave, which starts on the 7th fret of the D string, which is the A, the root. And then you go down the same way. Flat 7, G on the 5th fret of the D string. And then E, the 5th, which is on the 7th fret of the A string. And then the 8th fret of the E string, which is a C and is the minor third. So once again, you got 4 going up, you got 4 going down. So if you were to just want to take this line simply and turn it into a walking bass line, you're all set. Just ascend and descend. It's a good idea to practice this ascending and descending just to get you acquainted with what's going on. And if you were going to play a walking line, that would be pretty boring actually, but I'll show you a bunch of things you can do later in upcoming videos. That was the first example using the first shape. I'd like to explain a little about it, especially the technique and the theory behind it. So the first thing I must point out to you is that I used a 10th as opposed to a third. I did that for a reason. So I didn't play the C, which is the minor third, on the 8th fret. I played the C on the 5th fret of the G string. So now technically that's not a third, it's a 10th, but they are the same note, just up an octave. That's what a 10th is. A 10th is a third up an octave from the root. One of the advantages to playing that is it gives it a little style because it doesn't sound like your arpeggio. Right away it sounds like something else. The interval is large. So then I hit the root up an octave, and then we hit the 5th to the 7th back to the root. Now what's happening here, because I played the third up here, a 10th, is we're using only a span of 3 frets. This makes it a lot easier to navigate for beginners and if you want to play fast runs using this arpeggio. So what you have is something that resembles the pentatonic scale. And you could even throw in fills along with this line. once you get acquainted with the shape and playing it in time with some rhythm. The second example has more of a driving feel to it. First there's a quarter note, and then there's all eighth notes. So let me explain what's happening here. We have a root, and then we have the fifth, and then the seventh, and then back to the fifth again, and then there's our 10th again. Fifth, seventh, root, octave. I'd like to point out another thing about this. Although this is a minor seventh study, this line can be used on a simple minor triad as well. It can be used as a run, like a pentatonic run. Between the 3 frets is pretty much a pentatonic line, but the notes are specifically a minor seventh arpeggio. It just doesn't sound so boring. On number 3, I used the full stretch from the root to the minor third, which is part of the original shape. The first 2 examples, I used the 3 fret span, and I used the 10th instead of the 3rd, which eliminated that stretch. So now I'm going to put the stretch in on this one, and we're not going to use the 10th at all. Now, the technique that I use, I stretch from the index to the baby finger, and then I use the index and the baby finger as well on the other part of the line, which is only 2 frets apart. Now you could stay in position. You could stay in position and use your 3rd finger and index on this part of the line. That's your choice. I feel most comfortable with it. And you can see the economy of motion because you can barely see my hand move as opposed to using the position fingering. Now, economy of motion is very important, of course, and you can feel it, and your lines come out smoother because you have more time to finger and release and go to the next note. Another thing I'd like to point out on this line is a very good thing to do is to play this in every key, in all 12 keys. This enhances your practice because what you're doing is you're playing all over the neck. Let's do this through the cycle of fourths. This is a common thing that jazz musicians always use. When they learn a new lick or line, they play it in all 12 keys, so they know it all over their instrument, and they're very familiar with it, so they'll never get stuck when they have to go to a chord that they haven't used this line on before. So let me show you. So what you have to know to do this is to have to know the shapes of a fourth. So kind of there's 2 shapes you would use. Now a fourth would be like here from A to D would just be up 1 string on the same fret. And then the next fourth you go down 2 frets to the string below. And then we go up again to the next string on the same fret, which would be a C. Now the next thing you might want to learn is seeing what a fourth looks like going from here to here. And then you can start that cycle all over again. And then of course you can go up anytime you want to a fourth with the distance of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 frets. Now I can't, I need an extra string to play that one there, so I have to play going down 1 string, 2 frets over. Because the line crosses 3 strings no matter where you start. So this does a lot for you because not only you're getting to know the neck a little better, your ear is hearing it in all 12 keys, and it's an excellent way to make your practice more robust. This last example, example 4, the last one on this video, is a 2-bar phrase. It's similar to the first 2 examples in the way that it uses the 10th, root, 5th, side 7, root, 10th. And then descending on the line, okay, the problem with this line is that it goes across all the strings, all 4 strings. Now, which limits you to playing it only from the roots on the E string. You can play it in any one of these positions. Of course, when you get way up here, it gets a little more difficult and sounds a little different. So I'm going to convert this line into 3 strings. Same line, I'm going to change the fingering and the positioning a little bit. So let's take this once again. We're going to play 5th fret E string, which is the A, and then we're going to jump up 2 frets and go to the 7th fret on the A string and play the 5th. Now that we've done that, we can start that from anywhere on the A string. So that gives you a lot of flexibility by being able to play that line from anywhere on the E string and anywhere on the A string. It also gives you a chance to shift a little bit and understand the line from a different perspective, you know, and you still have that pentatonic sounding thing going on. You can download the notes, tabs, and the play-alongs at my website. There's a link on the YouTube description below. If you like my videos, please comment, like, hit the bell to be notified of all the videos, and thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you again.